Good evening, everyone. Good evening. You're very welcome to the Kevin Kavanagh Gallery, and you're very welcome to the opening of Sheila Rennick's show, Bang It Out. My name is Mannix Flynn. I'm an artist, a politician. I'm a local councillor, but that's neither here nor there. Tonight, I'm here with the artist Sheila Rennick, and I'm going to be interrogating her, waterboarding her, and after this, I'm bringing her to Pear Street Police Station for further interrogation. So Sheila is the artist. You know, it's an extraordinary show, as you can actually see. So I'm going to be asking Sheila a couple of questions and going into the detail of the work. And 20 minutes into the conversation, I'll throw the questions open to yourselves. So I'll go straight to Sheila. Yeah. You know, and I just want to ask the question, you know what I mean? Now that you're in the gallery and that the work is on the wall, and we're present in that space that actually you've created, what does it feel like?
Oh, it feels great. It feels great to have, it sounds kind of naff, but to have a voice as a painter and have your work out of your studio and on a wall, and it feels great that you're not just painting into the void, do you know what I mean? Yeah, and it's a lovely space. Does the work justice. Yeah, it feels really good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So in terms of the work that's on the wall, I mean, obviously you're not afraid of paint because there's a lot of paint there. The subject matter that you've chosen here, you know, and the language you've chosen here, and the individuals you've chosen here. Why?
Well, I think I'm interested in storytelling and narratives and what's around me and what I see around in London, what I read about, stories I've heard. So it's because I kind of need to process them myself, you know, process something emotionally or just an urge to tell a story or something that's in my head that I want to communicate. And that's kind of why I paint them. And the people are just vehicles, I think, for the stories, you know, that I want to tell. I think, does that make sense?
Yeah, it all makes sense. There's politics and social consideration and social circumstances play a role, you know, within this urban environment that you're operating out of. With the, you know, every one of these have a very strong presence of what we see on our own streets to a large extent and what we see portrayed out there. So, and there's a kind of an edgy consumerism within them. Yeah. What is there a particular? Are you conscious of the political aspects and the social aspects of your work? Would you be conscious of that?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, and I think partly that, like, I'm interested in social issues. Yeah, and I am, and kind of creating. What would I say? I guess living in London as well, it's all around you. You know, consumerism is everywhere. You know, you walk out of the streets in London and it's as if someone's just taking money out of your pocket, you know. Shops are everywhere. So that's going to feed into it. And you see people struggling a lot. You know, where we live in Camberwell, it's just the struggle is real, you know, around there, like. So maybe because there's a mental home there as well, so that kind of helps. But, and London as well, the shops. Harrods, you know, was there recently. That was kind of influential. But I don't know if I'm trying to make a big social statement, you know, about things, really. I don't know.
The representations in them, like for instance, you have the funeral procession here and you have a body on the ground. I mean, take us through that.
That was a story about... there's an Irish guy campaigning for kind of the rights of Uber driver takeaway. You see them everywhere. I don't know if you see them in Dublin. Like they're everywhere in London, just flying by you. But I think one of them had collapsed and the guy had come down and like taken his takeaway, you know, and gone back up to his apartment. So I had kind of seen that's a photograph I took of kind of a funeral, you know, and I just added the guy there. Dead, kind of struggling with kind of the takeaway spillage all around him.
It's an everyday occurrence.
Yeah. And that's just a scene I saw in London kind of though, and I was interested as well in those elaborate funerals. You have them kind of in Ireland as well, don't you? Yeah. So I was interested in them. And there's another painting over there, The Grieving Sisters, which kind of is a painting of like those kind of funerals where people like dress up and overly cry, and there's lots of theatrics, and maybe it's genuine, I don't know, but...
The child's one, the one where you have the, you know, can you just bring us through that?
That painting is, there was a child, a mother, who killed her young infant in Belfast. And there was, the father actually, I think, was abusing her, you know, the father, but there was images of the funeral, and it was, once again, this big theatrical kind of scene, you know, of the funeral, and I just thought about her as well, you know, the woman kind of being put out and demonised, and the dogs as well, and it was springtime as well, and that's the last painting I made before the exhibition. That's the last one. I made that in April, or kind of March. So, yeah, I was just thinking about that story, and I wanted to kind of present that. Yeah.
Taking your kind of like, you know, your journey, you know, from Tuam through NCAD, through Dublin, from Dublin over to London.
Yeah.
You know, could you explain that to me? You know what I mean? Like, you know, the contrast and the changes and the influences, you know, of a countryside. You know, I don't like the word rural, you know, or urban, they're like architectural terms, but an upbringing in the countryside, in Tuam, you know, which is
well, it's a really small town. Yeah.
How did you arrive here in this gallery?
Tuam is, I think the most influence I probably had was probably in Claremorris as well, with my grandparents going to Mass every day, going to Knock. And that was like really theatrical, and there was lots of people to look at in the church. And I think growing up in the small town, in Tuam as well, there's so many characters. And that kind of whet my appetite for stories, and everybody's kind of telling the story in Tuam as well. And like totally embracing the weirdness, you know? And my dad as well is a vet, and he'd be telling me loads of stories about clients and, you know, like farmers, and like, and I think that kind of had my interest in storytelling and having something to say. And then I think being restless teenager as well, I just wanted to go to art school. That was the only thing I wanted to do, you know. And then I just thought NCAD was the way to go. So I came when I was just 17. Yeah, got into NCAD. Couldn't get into any nightclubs as well for the first year, so that was awful. I used to cry on the steps in Dublin, like.
So when did you start?
every night out, I couldn't get, and I'd have to go home, and that was kind of, I don't know if that's off the track, but I remember that.
Yeah. No, there are things there. When did you identify as an artist? When did you actually realise that your trajectory was going to be very different, that your expression was going to be different?
I think the final year, I think I struggled a bit in NCAD with, the first year was great, and then the second year kind of put into painting and left there. And you're kind of, I got a bit into the theory side of things, and I think I nearly failed the third year. And I remember saying to the tutors, look, just let me kind of in, you know, and they did for the fourth year, and I said I better just draw and paint or else I'll just get nowhere. And that's when I think I realised that was my voice, you know, just to draw and paint and forget about everything else. And I started doing like black and white drawings and painting criminals, and I think Val has Bobo. Remember Bobo? Yeah, Val bought Bobo at the degree show. Yeah, it was a guy on a electric chair. So that's when I knew I just had to draw and paint, and that was that. And I wasn't going to try and be any other type of artist. Yeah, that's when I knew to do that. Yeah. So
was that partly identifying yourself and actually rejecting what they were trying to kind of, I suppose, condition you into in NCAD?
Yeah, it's just finding the rawness, finding the real you, and just drawing and painting and just doing that, and that was it. And becoming a good painter, trying to do that. Yeah.
I met you 23 odd years ago when I went to your studios, and I saw, you know what I mean, like some extraordinary energy and some extraordinary expression at that particular time. And I had no doubt in my mind as to where you were going and what you were coming from and what you were going to contribute. You know, so with that kind of work and that kind of process, you then had to go over to the UK.
Yeah.
You had to then do a UK show of people in London and then bring that show back to Ireland to show it. That's a very unusual way of doing things.
Yeah.
In that sense. It's a very unusual way.
Yeah.
You know, that this show is full on London.
Yeah.
You know,
does it come across like that? Yeah.
Well, to me it does, because I know London. But equally, what it does
Yeah.
come onto as well, which is a point I wanted to raise, it comes onto the social realism of the UK and London in the 60s, and the likes of Alan Sillitoe, the likes of all of those really interesting, you know, Look Back in Anger, and all of those, you know, A Taste of Honey. Those kind of people, the people who are on the margins, the people who are on the street, you know, you know, they're the ones that we actually have here, and it's quite interesting as we've kind of our relationship with the UK politically and our relationship with the whole islands, you know, that, and also the fact that we get thousands of visitors in from London, you know, it's quite interesting, this particular aspect of where you live, you know, and that particular identity.
Yeah.
Would these people that are in these paintings, do they ever get a look in? Did they ever get a light shine on them? Did they ever get a platform?
Oh, this is their platform.
Do they know they're here?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
That one is of guys scaffolding, you know, at the very end. I don't know if you can see it. They don't know they're here, no.
Okay.
That was from like passing some guys scaffolding, and that one's kind of personal about my mother-in-law, and you don't really know about that, so she doesn't know about that. No, they don't know. They don't know, and I don't think they need to know. Like,
which is interesting, because really what they actually do is that there comes a point in time, and I suppose it's something I wanted to ask, when you have made the creation. When do you know that? I mean, I know many painters and artists say it's never finished.
Yeah.
But when are you actually satisfied that it is? You know, that it is, you know, complete?
I think for me, it's just going in and out of the studio and taking a few days and coming back, and then I just know that's enough of that now, you know, because you can only do something, like you're just going to work it to death, you know, and it's like some of these paintings are a bit naive as well, and it's like the way the style of them, so. You know, you just leave it then, you know,
If this was on in London, they'd say it was an English show. They'd claim you as an English artist. You know? What way do you see yourself as an artist? What way do you see that aspect of it?
Well, an Irish London artist, I'd say now, yeah.
Do you identify with that it's an Irish, or do you just identify with being an artist, you know? Because, I mean, you can limit yourself in those capacities.
Yeah. You know, there's some really good Irish artists in London who've never shown in Ireland, you know? And then you know, it's like it cut both ways, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, London gives you like an energy as well, you know? It's kind of like, I respond to that kind of turbulence. I don't mind that rough and tumble of it, you know? So it gives you that. Me identifying as, I suppose, well, as an artist, no one really owns you. You know, if you're a painter, does anyone really own you? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, like, because you're taking up, you're absorbing what's around you.
Yeah, and that's where the kind of, I suppose, the art comes into it. You know,
your environment's really important, where you are, like, I think, yeah.
In making the work, you know, you have a young child, you know, you're in a relationship, you are in London, you are a female. There's a huge amount of, you know, struggle in those particular areas. You know what I mean? And it varies, you know, within all the subcultures that are there. How did you actually manage to get the time to put such a body of work together? I mean, where does that energy come from? How do you do that?
Well, I think I got a good studio in September, and I've 3 full days where Bill's in nursery. And I think actually having the 3 days is nearly better than how I was before, where I used to like work 2 jobs and kind of shoehorn it in the evenings. And then I also took part in a mentoring course as well, which kind of gave me a bit of energy to like, you know, I was getting like some mentoring, and that really helped. But I think there was just, when you have little time, you make the most of it. I think you just get in and do it. Yeah. And I knew I had to do it. Yeah, so, and I really, by the time Wednesday comes, I'm just really want to go in and paint, and that's that, and shut the door. And I think it's having a good environment to do that in as well, you know?
Yeah. The relationship, again, going back to that relationship with all of these real life situations.
Yeah.
Because that's what they are, the real life situations. There's a kind of an Edward Hopper about it, because there's a distance. Everybody's kind of somewhere off in another space. Mm-hmm. And then you infuse them with this intimacy, with this kind of colour and this love and this real intense energy. Were you conscious of that? Were you conscious of that love? Were you conscious of that love?
I think the love comes from thinking about the idea and the narrative and the story and wanting to communicate it. And I think that's the love, isn't it? Like giving it time and working it out. Yeah.
Are all of these people who are in these works, or all of these situations, are they people who are basically disempowered, disconnected? Did he have any agency?
I don't think they're all disempowered, no. When you say agency, do you mean like as in?
As in agency, as in, you know, the area where you live, the levels of disconnection, the levels of poverty. You know, I know the area well, and I've been to the studios, and I know the urban landscape. And
I don't think they have. I think they have agency. I think, yeah. I think these lovers do. I think people do. I think they're just. Yeah, I don't think they're all tragic. Yeah. Like, you know, that's kind of like painting the Holocaust a bit, isn't it? It's like,
Well, there are people who are present, you know what I mean? Yeah. There are people who are present, and they're present in your work. Like we have Mr. McGregor up here, you know what I mean? You know, as far as I can make out.
Yeah, he's not.
You know, but you could say that he has all this particular wealth, but in actual fact, you know, he's surrounded with all this consumerism and all this kind of bling.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
but that's his identity, isn't it? Yeah,
that's his brand.
It is,
Everybody in the work has a kind of a brand. There's a lot of consumerism. There's tattoos. There's a lot of busyness happening.
I was worried about showing that here because that's Man United FC.
That's right, yeah.
And it's really English, isn't it? It's kind of like really rubbing off now. The longer I'm over there, what? What did you say? I said it's MUFC, Man United FC, you know, on his tattoo, and that's me being over in London. I think being exposed to the English, it's kind of rubbing off now.
But that's what's interesting.
I was going to take it off because I said I'm showing this in Dublin. I don't know.
No. That's
they'll hate it.
But again, that's what's interesting about the work. Yeah. You know, what's interesting about the work is the way it fits into the sensibility of this gallery space and Dublin space in the same way as it would fit into Shoreditch.
Yeah. It's interesting.
You know what I mean? That's where I'm kind of looking at this particular thing. And the first time this show is made in the UK, it's created over there by you. The subjects are UK, and yet it totally fits into our sensibility.
That's interesting, because
which is something you don't see. Yeah. You don't necessarily see. You don't see a full show created and then brought over to a gallery space like this. Yeah. You know what I mean? So there's a certain dynamic that has completely changed. Yeah. Within the UK for Irish artists. Would you agree to that?
Oh yeah. It's definitely really open there for Irish. They're doing really well. Lots of them, like Irish artists in like the UK.
Do you think that the same opportunities provided in the likes of Dublin or Ireland? Would you get the same opportunity? Would you find the same space?
Well, when I'm thinking about artists, I'm talking about writers, comedians, actors. No, I don't like like the likes of like Aisling B and Annie Mac and all them are doing great over there, and Sharon Horgan, and you know, I don't think they would. Maybe it's because Ireland wouldn't produce, like, you know, it wasn't a Channel 4 that did Father Ted.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's that, I suppose. But I don't know. And then being a writer in Ireland is probably better, I'd say. Like, you know, like writing novels, maybe. You know, maybe it's more support. I don't know. Being a painter.
Do you see yourself as a painter in exile? Do you see yourself as someone estranged from?
No.
Okay.
No.
See, that's what I think is interesting.
Yeah.
You know, that aspect, and there doesn't seem to be a kind of loneliness or a 1950s bang off it, or, you know, there doesn't seem to be that kind of thing.
But you could be in West Cork in a garage, and that's exile, and painting, and, you know, into the abyss, like, isn't it? You could be anywhere, like, you know.
But the sensibility here, you know, is that what I'm feeling is this. Is that if I'm looking at an artist who's struggling in Ireland or struggling in Dublin for the space to be able to paint, to be able to work, I would be better off saying to them, you're much better off going to London.
Yeah.
And taking your chances and doing what you're doing, because you'll get a better space. Would that be your view?
I would say if anyone's stuck and feeling that they're not getting anywhere, give it a go. You know, but like London's expensive, isn't it? And the studios are expensive.
So is Dublin.
Yeah.
And so is Ireland. And so is space. It's very expensive.
Yeah, so that makes it really hard.
It can be very difficult.
You know. But if you can get the space.
If you can get the space, yeah. But also then you get the gallery space and so on, the experience.
Yeah, I'd say go, yeah.
Our time is kind of running out at the moment, you know what I mean? Like, you know, for me, you know, I think it's a magnificent piece of work, you know what I mean? I think it's quite an extraordinary, you know, body of work. I think you're an extraordinary artist. I really do believe that. I think it's very good. And I also think that, like, you know, that certainly the public hopefully will warm to this. I'm sure they will, and it'll be bought. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about, that these works shift in order to allow you to do a further body of work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what's on the walls here, in my opinion, is pretty magnificent. You know, it's a very, very pronounced and strong expression, you know, from an Irish artist. You know, and your struggle has borne amazing fruit. So I'll throw it open to the public and the gallery, you know, to ask any questions you wish of Sheila.
Sheila,
Yeah.
and Mannix, when you're talking about the subject matter, that it's quite gritty, there's a complete contradiction with the fact that paint is so beautiful, and you're obviously enjoying painting, and some of it almost looks edible. It looks like icing, and the colours are very enticing.
Yeah.
Are you aware of that contradiction when you're making them?
Yeah, I am, because I am interested, like that aesthetic, that ugly kind of pretty aesthetic I like, you know. I like sports clothes and kind of, you know, things being a bit of a mishmash. So, and yeah, I think to paint something kind of grim in dark colours just wouldn't make sense. It's part of the fun of it all, you know, and I like just mixing the paint, using all those thick colours and sloshing it around, and so I think that's it. It's like what I like doing, yeah.
That does save it from being sort of dark and maudlin and kind of
yeah.
give a sense of hope.
Yeah, a bit joyous, yeah.
Somebody else?
Just in terms of the work and its position, you know, I was just trying to think of how you might feel that, or do you consider its longevity when you're painting, or its position in history, or?
I'd only consider it.
That you're going to have to live with it for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Do I? Well, I suppose I'm painting what's current.
Yes.
You know, and then it's kind of, it's like a diary, isn't it? Yeah. So I would kind of know that, but I wouldn't be worrying about me living with them. Yeah.
But when you walk into a room and see one in 15 years' time or something like that, do you ever think of that?
No, not really. No. No. I don't.
So it's very much in the moment.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Don't worry about that. Yeah.
Of course, it could be Ireland at the moment.
Really? Yeah. Well, culturally, England and Ireland are so similar, aren't they? Anyways, as well. Yeah.
But it's akin to something like Bailey's early photographs when he was doing East End.
Yeah.
Showing there before it got leveled and got knocked down. It encapsulates a period. It's Hogarthian as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
I presume you're aware of that too.
Yeah.
So it has a place.
It does, yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that. Like, that's good to hear. Like, yeah.
Any more questions from the floor?
Which one did you enjoy making the most and why?
What was the question again?
Which one did you enjoy making the most and why?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I enjoyed this one. A bit, yeah. I did. Probably the back one I enjoyed most because that was like the most kind of. I didn't really give a damn doing that one because it was kind of a graduation from that one. You see the one at the end, the scaffolders. Yeah. So it was kind of free and loose, that one. So I enjoyed that one because, it was free and loose and I kind of had fun with the paint and working on that larger scale, you know? Yeah.
Okay. Well,
You certainly are different with your wedding portraitures, you know?
Oh, I know. There's always a wedding portrait, isn't there?
Yeah.
I just want to finish it up on the title, Bang It Out.
Yeah.
This title, Bang It Out. When I was a child, my mother was a street trader, my family were street traders. We would be told to go out and bang out the tomatoes or the apples. And just, again, you hear when people are hawking food or hawking paraphernalia for matches, you bang out the scarves, you bang out. Some of our friends on the streets are banging out drugs, you bang out a bit of smack, you bang out a bit. So that phrase of banging it out, is a.
Well, I was trying to think of a name, and then I went home to chew with Bill, and I was chatting to. Well, I went to see my parents. I was chatting to my mother about like relationships resolving conflict or something, and she said, "Oh, well, you and Matt kind of thrash it out. You bang it out, like, and you scran then." And I said, "Yeah, that's bang it out. Yeah, I said, that's actually a good name." And I was thinking it applies to like how I'm making the work as well, going into the studio. Not that I'm just knocking stuff out thoughtlessly, but you're just banging. And like I think it applies to how I'm kind of living at the moment. So that's what I thought. Yeah, bang it out. Yeah.
Well, that's drive. It's commitment and it's authenticity, and it's been a great pleasure.
Yeah.
Really, and a great honour for me after such a long time.
No, thanks a million. It's great. Thanks for doing the talk.
I'm just so pleased and I'm delighted, from the world that I work in, which is a grey, dark one of politics, to come into the light of great artwork and really good creative expression, and to see a class of people and a sort of people, depicted and shown here by yourself. Is an extraordinary achievement in any person's language, and I take my hat off to you.
No, thanks,
so I'll
William.
just take my wig off.
Man.
Thank you very much, Sheila.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.